Hello, hi. Welcome to my channel Vidyavadini tutorial Chandrapurna. My name is Kanchana Anand. Today we are going to continue the most important part of chapter GST, that is test yourself part. In this part, we have already completed till question number 3. Today we are going to continue with question number 4. From now onwards, this this is your very important class, so don't miss, and please observe each and every problem. These problems that I am going to solve today are the most important problems for your board exams. The next problem is a shopkeeper. I hope the board is visible to you all. Sells an AC to Miss Alka for rupees 31,200, including GST at the rate of 28%. If the shopkeeper and Miss Alka both are from the same city, find for the shopkeeper first is total amount of GST. And the second question is taxable value on AC. The third question is amount of CGST. And the fourth option is GST. Hope the board is visible to you all. A shopkeeper sells an AC to Miss Alka for rupees 31,200, including GST, at the rate of 28%. If the shopkeeper and Miss Alka both are from the same city, find for the shopkeeper total amount of GST. Second question is taxable value on AC and amount of CGST and SGST we have to find. Here we don't know the selling price of AC because the price given is including the GST amount and the percentage of GST is 31, the percentage of GST is 28%. So according to the question, we don't know the selling price, so let the selling price be X. We'll keep the selling price as X. That means selling price is equal to X. According to the question, X plus 28% of X is equal to 31,200. That means the invoice price is 31,200. This includes the selling price and the GST. That means X plus 0.28 of X is equal to 31,200. So if we take X as common, 1 plus 0.28 of X is equal, 28 is equal to 31,200 and X is equal to 31,200 divided by 1.28. Correct, right? Now we can simplify this as 31,200 divided by 128 into 100. That means we can write this 1 divided by 1.28 as 1 divided by 128 divided by 100. So which is equal to 100 divided by 128. Okay. I have simplified this here. Now X is equal to, after simplification we will get the value of X as rupees 24,375. So 24,375 is the selling price of an AC. So to get the GST, we have to subtract the total invoice amount, that is including GST, that is selling price including GST minus selling price excluding GST. So which is equal to the selling price including GST is, it is already given 31,200 minus excluding GST is 24,375. So the GST amount is 6,825. So the answer for the first question is 6,825. So this is the final answer for the first question. So the GST amount is 6,825. And taxable value for AC. We have already calculated the taxable value for AC. So the taxable value for AC is 24,375. So based upon this selling price, we are going to calculate the GST price. So the taxable value for AC is 24,375. And for the next question, amount of CGST we have to find. See, we already know that in case of intrastate transaction, if the transaction is within the state, here they have clearly mentioned that Miss Alka and the shopkeeper are both from the same city. Then it is intrastate transaction. That means if the GST is 28% means then CGST percent is 14%. So CGST rate of CGST is 14%. So we have to calculate the CGST amount based upon this selling price. That means CGST is equal to 24,375 divided by 14% means 24,375 into 14 divided by 100. After simplification, we get the CGST amount as 3,412.5. See, if CGST is 3,412.5 means then SGST is also same. SGST is equal to 3,412.5. Hope you all have understood. Please take the screenshot. We'll move on to the next question. A wholesaler dealing in electric goods sells an article at its printed price of rupees 45,000 to a dealer at 10% discount the dealer sells the same article to a consumer at a discount of 4% on the printed price. If the sales are intrastate and the rate of GST is 18%, find first question the amount of tax under GST paid by the dealer to the central and state governments. That means CGST and SGST. The amount of tax under GST received by central and state government. And the third question is the total amount inclusive of tax paid by the consumer for the article. A wholesaler dealing in electric goods sells an article at its printed price, that means MRP, of rupees 45,000 to a dealer at 10% discount. So the market price is 45,000 and he gives a discount of 10%. The dealer sells the same article to a consumer at a discount of 4%. At a discount of 4% on a printed price. If the sales are intrastate and the rate of GST is 18%, find the amount of tax under GST paid by the dealer to the central and state government, and the amount of tax under the GST received by central and state government. And the third question is the total amount inclusive of tax paid by the consumer for the article. So in the first part, for the wholesaler, the market price given is 45,000. And discount is equal to 10%, which is equal to 45,000 into 10 divided by 100. So which is equal to 4,500 is the discount amount. So here the selling price is equal to 45,000 minus 4,500, which is equal to rupees 40,500 is the selling price. Then for dealer, cost price is equal to 40,500. So this is the cost price for the dealer. And again he gives a discount of 4% to the consumer. Then discount is equal to 4%, which is equal to, here the market price, we have to find the discount based upon the market price only. That means 4% of 45,400. That means 45,000 into 4 divided by 100. So which is equal to 1,800. So this is the discount given by the dealer. So the selling price for the dealer is 45,000 minus 1,800, which is equal to 43,200. So this is the selling price for the dealer. So for the first question, the amount of tax under GST paid by the dealer. For this amount we have to find the CGST and SGST. That means here the GST given is 18%. They have given the GST as 18%. Then CGST is equal to half of GST, that is 9%. That means 43,200 of 9%. So which is equal to 7,000 700 and 7,776. So this is the instead of CGST we'll find we can find GST directly. So 7,776 is the GST. So this is the output tax. That means the output tax or the GST amount for the dealer. And again we have to find the input tax for the dealer. That is, the dealer buys an article for rupees this one, the cost price. Based upon this cost price, we have to find the input GST. So input GST is equal to 40,500 into 18 divided by 100. So which is equal to 7,290. So the tax paid under GST is equal to output tax minus input tax, which is equal to 7,776 minus 7,290, which is equal to rupees 486. So this is the tax paid under GST. The amount of tax under GST paid by the dealer to the central government and state government is rupees 486. So here in this question they have already given that the amount of tax under GST is 486 paid by the dealer to the central. We have to find both. Here they give dealer to the central and state government. So we have to find the CGST and SGST amount. That means CGST is equal to half of GST, which is equal to 486 divided by 2, which is equal to 243 rupees 243. So rupees 243 is the CGST and SGST amount paid by the dealer to the central and state government. Please take the screenshot and note down the steps, because here I don't have any space. I have to rub the solution part, or else no, I have to rub the solution part itself, or else I'll rub the question itself. For the second question, the amount of tax under GST received by the central and state government. Here we have to find the amount of tax under GST received by state and central government. Here we have already calculated the GST paid by dealer for rupees, for the cost price 43,200 is rupees 7,776, isn't it? We have calculated here. So in this we have to find the tax received by state and central government. That means CGST and SGST we have to find. That means half of GST amount, that is CGST is equal to 7,776 divided by 2, which is equal to 3,888. If CGST is 3,888, then SG is also same, 3,888. Hence, so the tax received by central and state government is 3,888. And for the fourth question, the total amount inclusive of tax paid by the consumer for the wholesaler. So for consumer, cost price is equal to selling price of the dealer. That is 43,200. So the cost price for the consumer is 43,200. And the GST we have already calculated the GST for this price, that is 43,200 of 18% divided by 100, which is equal to 7,776. So this is the GST amount. And the question is the total amount inclusive of tax. We have to find the total amount including of tax is equal to 43,200 plus GST, that is 7,776, which is equal to 50,976. 50,976 is the total amount inclusive of GST. Take the screenshot. We will move on to the next question. A retailer buys a TV from a manufacturer for rupees 25,000. He marks the price on TV %20 above his cost price and sells it to a consumer at 10% discount on the market price. If the sales are interstate, and the rate of GST is 12%, find first question the market price of the TV. Second question, consumer's cost price of TV inclusive of tax under GST GST paid by the retailer to the central and state government A retailer buys a TV from a manufacturer for rupees 25,000. He marks the price on the TV 20% above the cost price. Here the cost price is 25,000. He marks the price above 20% and sells it to a consumer with 10% discount on the market price. If the sales are interstate, here the sales are between different states. Find the market price of TV. Consumer cost price of TV inclusive of tax and GST paid by the retailer to the central and state government. See, in the first question, we have to find the market price. For that, we have to find the 25% of 20% of 25,000 And again we have to add the 20% to the manufacturer price, then we will get the market price of the TV. Again we have to find 10% of discount with that, and again we have to add the, for the second question we have to add the, find the GST amount for that cost price, and we have to find the total price inclusive of GST. And for the third question, GST paid by the retailer to the central and state government. Here, since the transaction is between different states, then the only tax applicable is IGST. We need not to find CGST and IGST amount. Here CGST and SGST are nil. The only thing applicable is IGST. IGST is equal to GST amount. So given that manufacturer price is rupees 25,000 and market price is 25,000 plus 20% of 25,000. So which is equal to 25,000 plus so it is 5,000. So 25 plus 5,000 which is equal to 30,000 is the market price for the TV. So this is the answer for the first question. We have solved the first question. And again in that 30,000 what is that? Again in that 30,000 he sells the TV to the consumer with 10% discount on market price. That means in this we have to find the 10% discount. So discount is equal to 10% of 30,000. So which is equal to 3,000. So the 3,000 is the discount amount. So the cost price is equal to 30,000 minus 3,000, which is equal to 27,000 is the cost price for the consumer. And the GST paid by the consumer. So the we have found the answer for the second question, that is 27,000. So 27,000 is the answer for the second question. And now we have to find the answer for the third question, that is GST paid by the retailer to the central and state government. That is GST is equal to 27,000. The GST rate is 12% into 12 divided by 100. So which is equal to 3240. So 3240 is the GST paid by the consumer. And again we have to find the consumer's cost price of TV inclusive of GST amount. So consumer's cost price for the TV inclusive of GST amount, that is the cost price is 27,000 plus GST is 3,240. Here cost price plus GST. Okay. So which is equal to 30,240 is the price inclusive of GST. And again for the third question, input tax is equal to 12% of 25,000. So which is equal to 25,000 into 12 divided by 100. So which is equal to 3,000 that we have already calculated, and the output tax is equal to 27,000 of 12%, which is equal to rupees 3,240. So GST paid by the, I'll rub the question. GST paid by the retailer is equal to output tax minus input tax, which is equal to 3,240 minus 3,000, which is equal to 240 is the tax paid by the retailer. So in the third question they have given that find the GST paid by the retailer to the central and state government. Since the transaction is interstate, the only tax applicable is IGST, which is equal to CGST, which is equal to GST, that is rupees 240. The tax paid for central government is equal to rupees 240, and the tax paid for the state government is rupees 0, that is nil. So please take the screenshot. We'll move on to the next question. A dealer buys an article at a discount of 30% from the wholesaler. The market price being rupees 6,000. The dealer sells it to a consumer at a discount of 10% on the market price. If the sales are intrastate means that within the state, and the rate of GST is 5%, find the total amount paid by the consumer for the article the tax under GST paid by the dealer to the state government. Third question is the amount of tax under GST received by the central government. A dealer buys an article at a discount of 30% from the wholesaler. The market price being 6,000. The dealer sells it to the consumer at a discount of 10% on the market price. If the sales are intrastate and the rate of GST is 5%, find the total amount paid by the consumer for the article. The tax under GST paid by the dealer to the state government, and the third question is the amount of tax under GST received by the central government. So here given that market price is equal to rupees 6,000, discount is equal to 10%. Therefore, consumer the market price is 6,000 and the discount is 10%. So the discounted amount, that is, which is equal to 10% of 6,000, which is equal to 600. So rupees 600 is the discount. So the cost price is equal to 6,000 minus 600, which is equal to 5,400 is the cost price for the consumer, and the GST paid by the consumer. Which is equal to 5% of 5,400, that is 5,400 into 5 divided by 100, which is equal to rupees 270. This is the GST paid by the consumer. So the total amount paid by the consumer for the article is paid by consumer is equal to cost price plus GST, which is equal to 5,400 plus rupees 270. That is 5,670. And for the second question, here the market price is rupees 6,000. So discount is equal to 30%. Then the cost price is equal to 6,000 of 30%. So 600 is the discount amount, and the cost price is market price minus discount, which is equal to 6,000 minus 600, which is equal to Sorry, the discount is 6 into 3. It is 1800. 1800 is the discount. So the cost price for the dealer is 4200 is the cost price for the dealer. And here input tax is equal to 5% of 4200, that is 4200 into 5 divided by 100. So it is equal to rupees 210. So this is the input tax for the dealer, and the output tax is equal to the GST paid by the consumer, that is rupees 270. Find the tax under GST paid by the dealer to the state government. That means tax paid by the dealer is equal to output tax minus input tax. Input tax, which is equal to 270 minus 210, which is equal to rupees 60 is the tax paid to the government. Again, here we have to find the tax under GST paid by the dealer to the state government, that is SGST. So this is the GST amount. To find the SGST is equal to half of GST, that is 60 divided by 2, which is equal to 30. So 30 is the tax paid by the dealer to the state government. And the last part is the amount of tax under GST received by the central government, that is GST received is equal to GST paid by the consumer, which is equal to rupees 270. So this is the GST amount. SGST is equal to half of GST, that is 270 divided by 2, which is equal to 135 rupees. If CGST is 135 means, then CGST is equal to rupees 135. So for the third question, the amount of tax received by the central government. Amount of tax received by central government is equal to rupees 135. Fine. So please take the screenshot. We'll wind up the session for today. If I am late by 5 or 10 minutes also, 5 to 10 minutes or 15 minutes also, I'll take the class at 9:45 instead of 9:30. Please stay tuned. I'll try to start the class at sharp 9:30. If not possible, due to some technical issues, I'll start the class by 9:45. Okay, we'll stop here for today. Tomorrow we'll continue at 9:30 or 9:45. Please be on time. Thank you all. Bye bye.